Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast. Continuing to pick apart as we do Raw, SmackDown, and on the precipice of SummerSlam. And so, just I don't mean a PSA, but like, I think everybody's universally getting sick of having a 2.5 hour show with 45 minutes of wrestling and the rest of it commercials and stupid talking points and all this nonsense.
Mhm.
And it's not me just saying it, right? Like, I mean, I don't believe all these videos you see online about like, oh yeah, WWE is listening and they're gonna do XYZ and to help things along, and maybe they're gonna cut commercial breaks. Nah,
Mm.
they ain't doing that shit. They're gonna ring the chamois as they do, and it just is what it is, unfortunately. But so in recent weeks, obviously we've seen I don't know if you want to call it a heel turn or whatever turn, with Maxine Dupree joining the Vision and basically saying goodbye to the Alpha Academy. And I don't know if I'm quite in it, but I feel like it's Maxine Dupree has nothing better to do. And I don't think it was I think honestly it was like, do this or you can just ride off into the sunset and get released. But it also in my head thinks that, Akira Tozawa and Otis are on the chopping block. Because they've basically continued to release actual tag teams. Like, they're just completely doing away with tag team wrestling with actual established tag teams. And it's kind of ridiculous, really. Like, tag team wrestling was the pinnacle. The first TLC match, with the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardy Boys. Like, that was like the pinnacle of what tag team wrestling was. And now it's just become like a, let's throw two random guys well, not really random, but like, let's throw two guys together and we'll call it a tag team. But
Mhm.
I digress. Just wanted to get that off my chest. But so our first match of the night was between the World Tag Team Champions, Braun Breaker and Austin Theory, versus Javon Evans and Dragon Lee. And exactly my case in point about random people getting tossed together, in a non-title match, which doesn't make any sense to me, because I feel like if you're wrestling a tag team match, your title should be on the line. If you're any champion of anything, if you're wrestling a singles match or a tag match, whatever it is, your title should be on the line. One, honestly, it would stat pad you a little bit to say you've defended your title more.
Mhm.
But these non-title matches are just a waste. Why even have them in a match? Why even have them anything, if they're not going to defend the titles? It doesn't make any sense. But obviously, Braun Breaker and Austin Theory obviously get the dub, obviously with plenty of outside interference, as it were. And I think we're starting to notice the transition to now Maxine Dupree being manager and Paul Heyman kind of exiting stage left. I don't know if you guys have kind of noticed that, where now it doesn't seem like Paul Heyman's really involved in any capacity, with the Judgment Day, obviously after the comments he made weeks back about, well, you have Maxine Dupree, you don't need me. So, but Paul Heyman can do whatever he wants. So, now the next segment of the night, obviously we had, was Danhausen basically coming out to return the monies, as he puts it, to the Judgment Day. And we obviously get the Judgment Day out, the whole shebang, as they do. They're like a pack of wolves. Obviously end up beating up Danhausen and taking the suitcase of the monies they thought were monies, but in Obviously, they start attacking Danhausen. Obviously, Joe Hendry comes and helps out. Leads obviously into a match later in the night. And after when they returned from the commercial break, you had them realizing that the monies were just Danhausen money and they were fake.
Mhm.
JD McDonough, for some reason, turns to I don't know what with the money, but hits Obafemi. And so we end up getting Obafemi versus JD McDonough and just a mollywhopping. like poor JD. He flew so high on that back body drop. It was insane. Like he threw him easily 3 to 4 feet above him. Like, yeah, and then just a good keep me in shape, keep my ring rust from ever happening with Obafemi, obviously leading into SummerSlam to face Brock Lesnar, and obviously he does once again obviously give a little stab at Brock Lesnar. And so after that, we get Solo Sikoa coming out, basically calling out Seth Rollins. And he had a lot of valid points in the sense of he knows how the bloodline operates, right? Because you're not going to be just facing Roman, you're going to be facing Jimmy, Jay, Solo, whatever, even though they have a match. But obviously, we don't know the match setup yet. And basically, Seth's kind of like, I'll think about it. And Solo basically turns him around. Basically, he's like, what's to think about? But, we'll wait and see and how that plays out. Maybe the matches are on different nights between the two, and so maybe we see Solo help Seth in some capacity.
I think you will.
But it for some odd reason could also be Solo being an inside man. Maybe he's joining the bloodline or something, and maybe he's just befriending Seth per se to get him to trust him, and then screws him over at SummerSlam. But I hope not. I hope honestly we just get a good straight up match. Which
when was the last time that we had a really good straight up match?
1985.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so I just I get what Solo's doing, and to a certain extent, I mean, this is kind of a new Solo. I think this is, a more face-ish Solo Sikoa, which kind of a good quick transition, obviously, from being with the MFTs and behaving a certain way and having a certain candor. And now he's kind of done a 180 into, kind of a different character. And I think there's still plenty left for Solo to do. But I think obviously this is why we don't like the bloodline, because the bloodline infests the whole show.
It's annoying. It was nice. It was cool at the beginning. Now it's just getting old and stale.
Yep.
Yeah. Because it just engulfs the show, and it's like every storyline is somehow, twisted and weaved into the bloodline business.
Mm-hmm.
But so our next match of the night, we had Penta and Chad Gable versus Rusev and Ethan Page. And they have to cut this shit out because they have these, talked a little bit beforehand, but like they have these match builds for like a SummerSlam or Royal Rumble or whatever. And then they put the two guys that are supposed to be at odds with each other in a tag match together.
Yeah, that storyline needs to go. I mean, that is an old trope to build conflict between the two people that are supposed to have a match. And I don't need to see it anymore. I just don't.
Yeah.
Same here.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, how are you like if their match was at like some low end PLE Saturday Night's Main Event or something small, whatever, it's not a big deal. But like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series are the big four. And if you're building any match for the big four, it's got to have some believability.
Yeah.
But when you put them in a tag match, literally a week and a half before, or 2 weeks roughly, before their actual match at SummerSlam, it's stupid.
Yep.
And like you said, they've been doing this shit for years, for decades. Yeah.
Way back before I had diapers.
Pretty much. So we ended up getting another match, obviously, from earlier. We get Joe Hendry versus Dominic Mysterio, and guess what? A non-title match. Like, I don't even know if Dominic even has defended his title.
He's defended it a couple times in AAA.
Mm.
But not enough
I can't remember how many times, but
yeah,
just a couple times.
Yeah, and it's like it's just kind of silly that he's holding a championship that's not on the brand that he's even on, and like acting like it's some flex that he's held this championship for so long. And really, I mean, he's not really that good of a wrestler. He's gotten better, but like he's nowhere near AAA level performer. Period. But yeah, it's a mess. So our final match of the night was Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. In typical fashion, plenty of outside interference, yada yada. Obviously, Jacob does get the win. Again, no real surprise. And they're doing a lackluster job of building the Usos and Jacob Fatu versus Royce Keys, LA Knight, and Solo Sikoa. You will get to the match card of SummerSlam, but it's there's no build. Like, what happened to good building of matches? Like, every match used to matter. Like, you look, let's say 10 years ago, like you had less commercial BS, you had less backstage segments, you had more build for matches, especially being part of the Big Four. And they've done nothing with most of these matches. Most of these matches are thrown together. There's no real true build. Yeah, now the one I would say I'm actually looking forward to, and I feel like the build has been kind of legit. So SmackDown kicked off with the contract signing between Nick Aldis and Gunther for SummerSlam. And wow, no surprise that a contract signing would end in fiasco. But I tell you honestly, like, Nick Aldis makes me a believer. Now, I don't think he's gonna win.
Maybe.
I say like 70-30 that Gunther wins and Nick Aldis wins. But I still think, honestly, Nick Aldis is going to put on a show. I think people are going to be very, very surprised that don't know who, what was his name? Magnus, I think it was.
Yes.
And so, like, they don't know about him. And really, Nick Aldis has been out of the ring for only 3 years. That's not that long in wrestling, at all. Yeah. I mean, you've had performers gone for years. So, like, this really doesn't seem far-fetched. And the crazy thing is that Nick Aldis isn't that old either. Like, I know we talked about this, episodes prior. I mean, it is really just mind-boggling. It's like, you look at Adam Pearce and you're like, yeah, he's definitely, probably in his, late 40s or something. But then you look at Nick Aldis, who's still chiseled. He's still, like, in good shape. He's still a good-looking dude. And he's, like, only 39. And he's, like, the suit makes him obviously look much older. But I'm looking forward to when the suit comes off and we get to see, a collision between one Nick Aldis and Gunther. And yeah, honestly, that's probably one of the top, I'd say, like, my top 4 that I actually am looking forward to seeing.
Mhm.
just
Oh,
because
me too.
because it's just so out of it. Like, but it's like they've been building this for months.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they should be building for the other matches that are actually on the card. Like, how has the build for Nick Aldis and Gunther been more of a build than half the match card? And he's a GM, and Gunther's just a douchebag. So like, how are they creating more like collision and more like chemistry in the build of the match than the other half of the card? Like, like make that make sense. And maybe we get Nick Aldis out of retirement. I mean, I think it's again a 70-30, but
It can
I mean
happen.
we could. I mean,
I think he is out of retirement because
I mean, he signed
that
it.
contract.
he signed the contract with all these stipulations when it's probably a contract that just says watermelon, peach, grapes, oranges. Like, it probably says nothing of actual value. But yeah. So our next match, we had Brie Bella versus Lainey Reed. Honestly, not much of a exciting match. Obviously, you have Fatal Influence on the outside, and obviously then you have Paige in Brie Bella's corner, and then obviously shit hits the fan, and now we see the return of Nikki Bella, who she should have a shirt like Heath Slater that says, "I got kids," or at least I got child support payments. But anyways, I digress. No editing, Frederick. Nope, not me. So being that Rhea is going to be out for an extended period of time, they've been putting together this interim WWE champion ladder match, and we've been seeing a handful of matches. And we got to see Chelsea Green versus Kiana James. And Kiana James has kind of floundered since she's not with Julia. But I think if booked right, she's definitely a future star because she has the credentials, she has the experience, and I think honestly the women's division is more secure than they lead us to believe. Because it is deep, because you have not only Raw and SmackDown, but you have NXT, you have Evolve, and obviously then you have the LFG talent starting to cycle in from the last 2 seasons. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of seeing, what the women's division looks like, in the next like 5 years, because I think that there's going to be a seismic shift. I think there's going to be a changing of the guard. I still say like the majority will be around, but I think there's going to be so much coming up that I don't think, we're going to see a lot of current stars basically in Natalya level. But I'm also here for the shakeup though, because we need it. Because it's again just the same repertoire,
same old shit.
Yeah. But that's the WWE shtick right now. It's
Pretty much.
how can we have the most minimalistic show with practically no wrestling, and it's more like watching a Broadway play with a couple fights. And yeah. Now, speaking of stupid fights, so we get again another like face-to-face thing between Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. And so Sami Zayn said some stuff in back that made a lot of sense, in the sense of, so when Cody was champion, and then obviously CM Punk after losing his title goes to SmackDown, and then just interjects a storyline with Cody Rhodes. And Cody's like, "Hey, well, you named the day." So basically just entitlement on steroids. And then obviously CM Punk was gone for a hot minute. But then obviously he came back recently, obviously, to screw over Sami Zayn. And so now we basically get this forced storyline. And by forced, I mean nobody wants to see this. If it was 10 years ago, yeah, I'd love to see it. But we're over Cody Rhodes, and I've been very outspoken about I'm done with Cody Rhodes. I'm done with CM Punk. Like, bring on what's next. So, like, what do you guys think as far as this whole CM Punk and Cody Rhodes nonsense?
Tim?
I like CM Punk. I do like Cody Rhodes. I'm tired of seeing Cody Rhodes get shots after shots for the title.
Mhm.
He needs, and I agree with pretty much what Damian Priest said to him, and a couple other people have said to him. I just think CM Punk should just give this title shot to somebody young. Me personally, I'm gonna go with Finn Balor. He deserves it. He hasn't held a title like that since it was the whatever the freaking red belt was.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It was a Red Universal.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he got hurt, and then he had to relinquish it. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I think the separation of Judgment Day with Finn Balor is obviously the best thing for him, but now they need to not let him flounder. Finn's a top star. Finn's top level. He's top 10 in the business, and they need to utilize him as such. I mean, honestly, even Damian Priest being in a tag team thing is kind of right now, because I want to see Damian Priest singles gold, baby. I don't want to see him in this, like, we love R-Truth. We love R-Truth. He is a gem, but we need to like separate that tag team, have him lose, have R-Truth go do what R-Truth does. But like Damian's top 10 too. And it's like you need to utilize him as such. But WWE has this issue with basically not pushing people that the fans want. You know, like I said, they're just shoving storylines down our throat, and it's like, dude, like, let things happen authentically. I mean, you know, like when the whole "we want Cody" thing, you know, happened those 3-4 years ago, like, you know, he listened to the fans and he kind of shook things up and had it how it happened, and that was genuine, that was authentic, that was pure fan motivation and wanting something. And now it's to the point where we're just subjected to whatever they give us. It's like when you grow up and your parents are like, well, this is what's for dinner, so if you don't like it, starve. And like,
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
this is what WWE is now. And I'll be a lifelong fan, and that's never gonna thwart me away from watching the product and being a fan. But I'm also entitled to my opinion, much like everybody in the WWE universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what we do. This is what, like, it comes down to is just it's complacent, it's safe, it's repetitious, and I need a shakeup at some point here, man. You know, and then they released that stupid WWE Unreal, and
Yeah, no, I need to finish the third season.
well,
I'm not a big fan of it, but
I mean, I kind of skipped through some of it because they were like backlog. They were like first they talked about the John Cena stuff, so they went through the whole like his whole retirement year, and then it's like they were bouncing back and everything, and they're bouncing back in certain people's stories and stuff like that. And the skinny of some of it was basically they basically chose to not to push Braun Breaker, and it's like so you're like. The Unreal thing is just stupid in its entirety because you're showing everybody what happens behind scenes, so stuff gets less and less believable. This shit never would have happened in a different era with a different gentleman. Okay. Like what was outside of the curtain was its own thing. What happened behind the curtain was not for everyone's viewing pleasure.
Yep.
And you're just kind of ruining it, honestly. And it's honestly a little bit unsettling how much they swear. Like, I don't get me wrong, I swear, but like it's just F this and like they're in the back just freaking dropping freaking just F this and F that, and it's just like, damn. like like so you're telling me that you want to bring PG product behind the curtain, and then these kids are going to watch the special and be like, man, they swear a lot. Like
Yeah, Mom. F you.
yeah Stone Cold said this.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
316 just says I just whooped your ass.
go to the corner. No, you go to the corner. You're not a referee. But but no, I think WWE Unreal, like, we already know what it is, but like we've said before, is to the average fan, the casual fan, or the young fan, it's like you're just releasing basically how, like, we already know wrestling is scripted and everything else. Like, we're not naive and ignorant to that. But it's like to show us what we already know in real time versus just us basically kind of figuring and reading between the lines of what happens behind stage. But
we all know how it goes.
Yeah. And speaking of how it goes, my segues. So our next match was Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax, and there's definitely something brewing here, because basically you get the come down with Jade Cargill and her two pals and end up basically giving Jaded to Charlotte Flair and obviously getting a disqualification, which actually ends up having Charlotte Flair being able to go to the ladder match because she won via disqualification. So I want to see Nia Jax beat the crap out of Jade Cargill because she screwed her over. And Jade's going to play it was nothing personal. And Nia's going to be like, well, you screwed me over regardless.
Yep.
And so I think, and for all intents and purposes, maybe Nia Jax is the fifth person. I mean,
it could make a lot of good sense, to put her in, and then Nia Jax could get that championship, and
and I wouldn't be mad about it because, again, I like some good swerves. I like surprises. I like something that seemed very far-fetched to actually happen, much like obviously Sami Zayn winning the championship, stuff like that. Like, even if it's for a brief moment, it's still a moment, right? And so, like, that's the stuff that the WWE fans, we love to happen, right? Like, we enjoy these moments in time. I mean, like you said about like Stone Cold and everything, right? Like, that 316 moment was like, it was just a moment in time, but it changed and it resonated for 30 years beyond it, and so, like, I think it makes it interesting. But yeah, so I definitely, obviously, we really don't have much left, but yeah. So the final match of the night was Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, Trick Williams, and Royce Keys in a fatal 4-way. And oh man, what a mess.
That match was great.
Yeah, I dude, and I will say with the WWE Unreal thing, honestly, I liked hearing more about Trick Williams. Like, yeah. So, But we end up getting Finn Balor winning, which is definitely exciting. So now we're basically going to have Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor for the undisputed #1 contender spot. And so, yeah, that should definitely be exciting, you know,
Finn
and
Balor better win.
he better.
Oh,
But
getting better.
yeah, so I mean, we'll put a pin in this as we do, you know, and so I look forward to SummerSlam this weekend.
I'm definitely 100% excited for it.
You know,
It's going to be. They got a lot of good matches on the SummerSlam cards. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a good one.
yeah. So you know, it's definitely kind of shaped up, you know, from being very little amount of matches. But their ticket sales are something else, though.
Yeah, I looked at the
Here's
ticket prices.
$25 tickets to go to the show, while everybody else paid full price.
I mean, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, I
Patience-
bet you the $25 tickets. That's probably
Patient-
like freaking
yeah.
nosebleed.
Yeah.
You know, they say patience is a virtue, but I say patience is a value.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you know, we'll see what happens, and obviously it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of possible title changes, exciting matchups. Obviously, Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam is always a win for me. So, but we will wait and see. And this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.